What do you think? Should we use traditional styles of worship or contemporary styles of worship? There are churches fighting for this issue. But let me suggest you that we should not use any other kind of worship besides those we find in the Bible. Those principles about worship we find in the Bible. For instance, in Leviticus 10, we find a very important principle that we should use to worship God the way He is prescribing and not the way we feel comfortable with. For instance, Nadab and Abihu here in Leviticus 10 brought a strange, a prohibited, a profane fire before the Lord, and they were instantly killed by the Lord. Fire came from the Lord and killed them. And some people say today, wow, what happened there? But remember that God was bringing the Israelites out of Egypt. God was trying to teach them how to relate with Him so that they could have life. And God was very specific, and Nadab and Abihu as leaders did not respect those principles. And so God brought judgment upon them. And besides that, God told to their relatives not to mourn after their death, because that mourning could be interpreted as sympathy, which would not be appropriate in that case, because as leaders they could not sympathize with their sins. But there is a difference between sympathizing with sinners and sympathizing with sins. In this case, sympathy was not appropriate because they were already dead. So any mourning may be interpreted as sympathy for their sins, which would not be appropriate for leaders. And another important point in this chapter is about temperance. They were killed because of their intemperance. And God is saying here to leaders, if you are a spiritual educator, a leader in the Church of God, temperance is even more important because it's fundamental for you for doing two things. In verse 10 says that it's important for you to distinguish between what is holy and unholy. And the second point you find in verse 11, it's important for you to teach people about holiness. So if I want to distinguish between what is holy and unholy, and if I want to teach people about holiness, about God, I must be a temperate person. I am asking God, God, please help me to be more temperate, more and more temperate. Temperance is to completely avoid what is not good for my health, for my body, and to use in a moderate way what is good. May the Lord help us to be temperate and to use our body for His glory. God bless you today.